And we're back with Marketing Metrics Power Rankings. So we got these 5 metrics. Yes, we know there are a lot more marketing metrics. So when you LHLM us with, oh, what about impressions and click-through rate? We know we can summarily dismiss you.
If you would like to talk about impressions and click-through rate, come on to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing and Gyi will make fun of you.
Yes. And so 2 things. One, as we were putting this list together, it's really important not to have too many metrics. We talked about traction. I'm going to screw this up. So traction disciples, you can correct me. But I think for scorecard metrics, they talk about 3 to 7. So we're going to do 5.
And just to tie into Baker, Baker has his own metrics, right? And he has 8. For running a firm, it's 8. And he actually he's a pilot. And he uses the analogy as if you are a pilot and you have 100 dials to look at, you will crash, right? And so he's talking about the 8. And there's metrics underneath all of these, of course. But if we had a finite number of don't fly into the mountain metrics, these are the 5 that we would pick.
And the other thing too that's important in whittling down the list is these are metrics that are related to business objectives. They're not, I made fun of impressions and click-through rates. Someone was talking about bounce rate yet again with the bounce rate. Please stop. Let's talk business objectives. Your law firm is not going to crash into the mountain because of your bounce rate, but it might crash into the mountain if you're way off on one of these 5 metrics. Let's dive in. You want to start with number 1 or number 5?
Well, let's make this like a countdown to the big reveal.
Got it.
Number 5, most important.
Well, these are I ranked these, by the way, so you might disagree.
No. We're good. We're good.
Okay.
I think actually the important key here is these 5 metrics are really, really important. How you prioritize across them becomes interesting.
We can fight about it.
Number 5 is sales velocity. The initial responsiveness and the velocity through which people walk through the sales process. And the reason I campaigned for sales velocity is this is so easy to measure and fix. A lot of these other things they're harder to fix and assess. We did a whole thing on sales velocity in the last episode, but sales velocity is basically how responsive are you and how quickly are you at getting prospects through your sales funnel from reaching out to you into that client that is signed. And if you know what those numbers are, you can work to improve them. And it's really just a matter of improving your responsiveness across a whole variety of things. But that's why it's so important to me, because the contrapositive to a fast sales funnel is a slow sales funnel, and that overall reduces your overall conversion rate. You do a worse job, you're delivering worse service, you're hard to get a hold of, all of those things. And so sales velocity is super, super important. Gyi.
Agreed.
What's number 4?
Number 4 is the marketing pie graph. So, Conrad, I think you actually dubbed it marketing pie graph. So why don't you take us through what's in your marketing pie graph?
And I'm gonna stick with this funnel again, but you should know, just very simply be able to build a pie graph of where your leads, consultations, ideally clients, and ideally revenue, right? Those are 4 amazing pie graphs to know where your clients are coming from. Now, the nuance behind this, and we've talked about this before, is the source attribution of where they're actually coming from, right? And that is why it is very important to have, in my opinion, 2 source fields for each prospect. One is that automagic, which is I track you from a Google ad click to hiring me, and we know nothing else about you. And the other is what's called self-reported attribution modeling, which is, hey, we are often referred business where you're referred by anyone. And that will give them a free-form answer to tell you that, oh, I actually saw you on the billboard, or whatever that might be. Building out,
very
and
important.
Then from there, you have to distill which of those ones is actually the important one, because that billboard call may actually have shown up in someone searching for your brand and clicking on a Google ad, for example, right? And so you have to then build it. But across your funnel, leads, consultations, clients, and revenue by your marketing channel to see how things are going, right? Really, really important.
Which will bring us to number 3, which I go back and forth because this one to me is like, when we get to 2-in-1, I'll talk myself out of it. But this one for me is like close. It's arguable top two, maybe even one.
Okay.
Cost per acquisition. And whether that's cost per acquisition of a client, because this is where you're going to know how much money and time you can spend to get your next client. If you don't know that, you're going to overspend. You're going to dip into profitability. You might get more clients. We see this all the time. It's like, yeah, guess what? Revenue went up. But guess what? So did the cost. And in fact, the cost went up faster than the revenue did. So we're actually losing money. Target cost per acquisition of a client, target cost per acquisition of a consultation. Put that in your marketing pie graph too. But until you actually have what the marketing people would call a pro forma of your target cost per acquisition of a client, or at least target cost per acquisition of a consultation. I know in the PI space, this is tough because you'll say things like, oh, well, one client can be worth $10 million. Put some targets in there, take some medians, look back at your historicals, don't build it on the outliers, figure out what you're willing to spend to get your next client.
Yeah. This is no one goes into the grocery store and buys stuff without knowing what the prices are, right? So why are you buying clients without knowing what the price is, right? And without knowing what you're willing to pay, right? That might actually be more important, which is your target cost per acquisition. And if you're willing to pay, I like to look at these as percentages, especially in the PI world. If you're willing to pay 20% of the value of your average car crash, right now you know what your cost per acquisition is. That means you work for Google on Monday if you're running pay-per-click ads, but you work for yourself on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? Which is great. You need to look at it in those terms. Otherwise, you will never figure out how to spend money wisely. And it gets nuanced, right? Pay-per-click is linear, it's immediate, it's frequently a sales function as opposed to a marketing function. People have decided to buy, they just need to buy from you. And then you have things like social media where it is a much longer term and where you're not necessarily dividing, all of your social media spend by this one client, because it was not linear like that. It was across all of the clients in that social media space because it is around brand awareness, right? You need to know what these numbers look like.
Which takes us to power marketing metric number 2, which is referred business. And as I was talking about with cost per acquisition, you should know how much money you're spending on generating referrals and how much time you're investing in nurturing referral relationships and what the value of those referrals are for your firm. And especially if you're in an area there you pay on referrals, that's a very important metric from an acquisition standpoint, because this is what I hear all the time. Oh, well, our business is just based on referrals, so we don't spend any money in marketing. Oh, really? You didn't fly across the country to go speak at that lawyers summit? You didn't spend money taking people out to dinner? You didn't spend money and time doing all these things to nurture your relationships? And there's another piece to the I think that you wanted to speak to about referral business, because referrals also is a measure of your brand position, right? Do people know your name? Do they know your firm name?
100%. The other beautiful element of referral business, if you know this, ex-clients, right? And this is the best indicator that you're doing a great job servicing your clients. If you are getting business, and like this is a no-brainer, but no one is looking at the number of referrals that they get from their past clients as an indicator of the quality of work that they do, right? Are you actually measuring that? And if that number is going up, you're doing a great job at servicing your clients, right? Whether or not you're doing a great job in the classroom is a different, in the courtroom is a different conversation, but you're doing a great job at servicing your clients from what I call the doctor's bedside manner perspective. People really like working with you, and therefore they're going to send you more business. That is a great indicator for me. All right, Gyi, drum roll, please.
Drum roll. This is big.
Roll.
This is it. I think people are gonna be disappointed that this is the number one. Oh, we have a gong.
Isn't that yeah. Okay. What's number 1?
Client happiness. And one way to measure client happiness, you mentioned it before, but another one in addition to referrals from former clients is reviews from clients. Now, I'm telling you, I know you're already like, I do a great job for clients, but my clients are people who have been arrested for DUI and they don't want to go on to Google and talk about how I got them acquitted for their DUI. And that's totally understandable. Fine. Maybe it's not reviews for you. Maybe it's client feedback surveys. Maybe it is, second time referrals or maybe it's second time business. Maybe it's hired you to do something else. But if you're not talking to your clients about their happiness and managing to that, everything else isn't going to matter. We talk about this all the time. You can't SEO your way out of a bad reputation. The practice of law is a reputation business. And happy clients are the currency of reputation businesses.
And if you are really amazing, you can get your review percentage, clients to reviews over 100%, right, Gyi?
Right. You have one client, but you actually have 100 happy reviews on Google. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Oh, don't review yourself either.
I know. All right. Have you ever seen that happen? Does that happen? Do lawyers review themselves on Google?
Wah, wah, wah. All right, no, we're supposed to be leaving on a high note. Client happiness. Do a great job. Net promoter score. Go look it up, right? Find out how you're doing. Most of you have a very, very limited insight into how happy your clients are. I'll be blunt. I have a limited view into how happy my clients are, right?
And remember, too, it's not just about outcomes. Lawyers think it's about service. It's about experience.
Yeah.
A lot of clients don't know what a good outcome is. And so asking them about things like, how do you think about service? And guess what? All of these tie into each other, because if you go back to metric number 5 in sales velocity and responsiveness, guess what? The more responsive you are with clients, the happier your clients are going to be.
Brought to you by Clio's Legal Trends Report. That's going to come out. What are the most important things to you? And I guarantee you responsiveness is going to be top 3, if not number 1.
Money makes a, it makes a